Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the country and South Asia. Today we have Sneha Arora from Atma. She is the CEO at Atma. Uh, while we are having this conversation with CEOs that know the social sector, we thought to have someone uh, which we generally keep on hearing that in the startup ecosystem is known as angels. And in the non-profit ecosystem, we don't have angels, but we have orgs like Atma, which keep on enabling new non-profits, be their angels and support them with their capacity building, new approaches to scale their impact. And welcome, Sneha. Thank you so much for joining us today. Great to have you here today.
Thanks, Mala. Excited and looking forward to this conversation.
So, Sneha is from Sneha is graduated from Mumbai University and then has done her master's from Indian School of Business. She has also worked with KN India, BCG Consulting, and then joined Atma. She has been with Atma for almost 6.5 years now. Why don't you share what you actually do at Atma and what is the Atma is known for, Sneha?
Sure. Thanks, Mala. Atma is a 16-year-old nonprofit that focuses on capacity building of NGOs. Our vision is to see a thriving development sector ecosystem in India. And in order for that to happen, what is critical is to really capacitate the nonprofits who are, doing the good work that they do on ground. The size of problems, just social problems in our country is so large that, we don't believe any one actor can really solve it all. It can't be done only by the government. It can't be done only by corporates. It can't be done only by citizenry either, right? So it needs a movement. It needs like people to come together, recognize what their roles are, and then, go at those social problems together. One of the key actors in this are the nonprofits, right? The NGOs that are oftentimes, the last mile. They are the ones who are working most closely with communities. They go deep, they understand social issues. They come with the right intention and heart to really, make people's lives better. And that's the key stakeholder for us. So we believe in the power of nonprofits, to really be able to make social change happen on ground. And so Atma was set up as a catalyst and a support system for NGOs to help them sustain and grow, right? So everything we do in the domain of capacity building is with that intention to help nonprofits in the country sustain and grow their impact.
Great and very fantastic numbers of impact. I was just going through 23, 24 impact report and then the scale from 2022 to now. I think every year you started doubling the number, and that also shows it's not only the impact number, but it also shows the how many more non-profits actually need the support that you're extending them through trainings, through uh, helping them scale their programs or maybe build their basic system and
Yeah,
processes in place.
yeah.
Uh, Currently, if I look at these 562 nonprofits from the annual report last year, what are the geographies that you currently cover? Is this pan-India? You have focus on specific states. How do you go about that?
Yes, sure. So, Mala, we started as an NGO in Mumbai, right? Like 16 years ago. And I think for almost the first decade of our journey, we were working with nonprofits primarily in Mumbai and Pune. Right. So we were very focused on our geography, largely urban NGOs, largely in education as a sector. And that was our focus and that was our domain. But a lot started to change for us, after we hit that 10-year mark. And coincidentally, around the same time, we had a pandemic, soon to arrive. So we had started experimenting with our programs because we felt like what we were doing was adding value to a certain set of nonprofits. And the question in our minds was, how can we take this to more NGOs in the country? Because there are, by different measures and counts, at least close 2.5 lakh NGOs in the country today, right? So how do we reach them and how do we support them? Because it's going to take that many, if not more, to drive that kind of catalytic social change in the country that we so need. So you can imagine when the pandemic came, we were actually prepared to go virtual because because we had already started experimenting our program. And through that, we actually started working with nonprofits across the country, right? So it was always a part of our plan, but I would say COVID, just put it on a completely different trajectory, where essentially it just fast-tracked, Atma's ambition and Atma's motivations to really be able to serve as many nonprofits as it can in the country, right? And so today we work with NGOs across 21 states in India. We are supporting nonprofits that are both urban as well as rural and semi-urban in their nature and in their registration. We are serving organizations from different sectors, while education still continues to be the domain in which we have the most experience. But we're also working with nonprofits across health, education, skilling, livelihoods, and other kind of related domain. A lot more community-based organizations, are being served through our programs today than was the case 5 years ago. So we've had quite a bit of a growth and evolution, I would say, Mala, beyond even just the numbers. So numbers just tell the easy story, but the deeper story, will show that we've actually changed our shape and form, and who we are and who we serve so much over the past 5 years. Yeah.
Great. I really like the way Atma works. It's not only that you restrict yourself to programs. And the report that I was looking at, that you're going out, say like from Mumbai or Pune to Delhi for ISDM webinars, doing these webinars with community, sharing what you have with other non-profits. And then this is really, really very cool, and that's something that the future in non-profit of how do we become more collaborative and help each other. And that's where my
Yeah.
next question comes is, let's talk bit about your programs. I looked at Future of Impact and few other programs. So let's talk bit about that, because those non-profit who are listening, the obvious question would be how you can help us. So which of these program, if you can talk the programs that you
Sure.
run, then we.
Sure. Sure. So I think, yeah, happy to share about a little bit about our programs, Mala. So our flagship program is a program called the Atma Accelerator. In its most standard format, it's available for 3 years worth of capacity building support from Atma, right? We go deep, we understand different facets and aspects of the nonprofit. We help them build what we call foundational systems and processes, right? So these are organizations that have had some sort of OD, organization development or capacity building support, but they really want to go from being run like a project driven organization to an organization which has its own established systems, processes, and with that kind of a stable base, right, is able to plan for its future. When an organization comes into the accelerator, we take them through that journey, right? We take them through that journey across different domains. Like we help them with their strategy, we help them with their people practices, we help them set up board and governance systems in place. We help them to streamline fundraising, which is such a core part of being a nonprofit in the country. And so, it's almost end-to-end support in what we call 10 different organization development domains.
Mhm.
This has been our flagship program, and we've supported over 100 NGOs through this program, right? In our journey so far. So we started to pilot a lot more of what we call shorter format partnerships, short-term partnerships, right? These could be from anywhere between 6 months to 2 years, where we serve very specific needs and asks of the NGO. So there can be a partner who comes to us and says that, I'm really great at marketing and my HR systems are fantastic, but actually I've never looked at fundraising in a structured way. It's completely driven and dependent on our founder, and we don't have any systems, we don't have continuity and sustainability of our fundraising practices. So how can we design some of these systems? What are some best practices we should be using, so that we can build this muscle, because I mean,
Yeah.
it is a muscle in the sector, so I think that kind of training and support we will provide on a need basis, driven more by the NGO needs, right? So while the accelerator 3 year is a more structured program, the short term partnerships enable us to meet NGOs where they have requirements, right? So that's the second. The third, I would say, Mahala, are workshops and master classes, right? These are shorter formats, anywhere between 2 to 8 hours, sort of interventions where we'll take one topic, provide tools, frameworks, knowledge, and build a general understanding of what are some of, again, the best practices from a non-profit management standpoint, right? And that we do in a much bite-sized format.
Really appreciate what you're doing, and somewhere we also got benefit through your programs. One of them is pay what it takes. So when we were setting up Ground Zero, there were so many. I mean, you understand non-profit go through different difficulties,
Yeah,
and
yeah, of course.
finding their way, processes, system, and then that's where this was helping us, and we found a partner who was actually helping us with finance and compliance. So really appreciate. Well, these kind of initiative customization for nonprofits will definitely help nonprofit who are watching and looking for support. Don't hesitate to reach out. Atma actually is very active, and then they have you can reach out in through their website atma.org.in. And Sneha, while we are talking, also wanted to understand while you have a large set of impact and every year you are scaling, how big is your current team and how do you operate? I heard you're fully remote team. So wanted to hear
Yes.
about bit about your team and how do you all operate?
Yeah, absolutely. So there also, Mahala, it's been an evolution. So just in terms of the team size, we're about 22 people full time as employees at Atma today. We have an equal number almost of part-time volunteers, right? These are individuals who are volunteering with Atma for anywhere between 3 to 6 months on average. And so they also support our team in executing programs. As a 22 member team, and earlier, like I said, we started our work in Mumbai, Pune. We used to have offices. COVID actually presented that challenge, and I think the way we saw it, an opportunity to really change the way we work, right? So we had to give up our offices 3 to 4 months into COVID. Once we did that, we said, we will be a virtual org, and we don't want to take this up just because there is a pandemic, right? Like, let us try and operate as a virtual org, right? See, also the nature of the work that we do lends itself well to that, right? And I think we embraced operating as what we call today a hybrid entity, right? So our staff members are spread across the country. I think the way the world is evolving, we've also recognized that giving people flexibility through a remote work environment, building a kind of culture where it works on trust, right? There's nobody like managing you, micromanaging you 24/7. We allow people to show up the way they best can, but we are very clear on what needs to get achieved, right? So we don't compromise on our performance, we don't compromise on the outcomes that we are committing to achieve as a nonprofit for our partner NGOs, but at the same time we allow for flexibility to be built in. And I think we've busted some of those myths, and I think we feel really proud of that this sort of a hiring environment has allowed us to hire people that we would have otherwise never had access to. We feel we are much more inclusive as a team. We have people speaking different languages. We have people celebrating and looking at life differently. We have so much more diversity as a team. It's also humbling for us, right? And last but not the least, Mahala, I'd like to add that it's allowed us to serve NGOs across the country.
It definitely, even if I look, say like if one non-profit in Rajasthan looking to partner with you and they get to know that someone is from there, I think for Atma also it's a good that they know the geography and then they struggle. So rightly what you said makes sense. Uh, Also wanted to understand our viewers at know the social sector generally also look some of them look for career with Atma. So what kind of uh, roles in general you have? What kind of skill that generally you look? Is there anything that you look beyond skill, knowledge, attitude, anything? And wanted to hear the role and what is something that generally you look for.
at Atma, of course, we're structured in a way that our core team is the programs team, and that's the largest team that we have in the organization. And we have team members in the support roles and functions as well. Within the programs team, the role that we hire for most often at Atma is the what we call the Atma consultant, right? It says consultant, but it's a full-time employee role. At Atma, it's more a designation that we have, for that role. And as an Atma consultant, the role of this person is actually to implement and drive our programs, right, directly with the NGO partners that we have. So it's the most core role at Atma in terms of its implementation and day to day. We look for individuals, that come with problem solving skills. We look for individuals because at most times you're helping an NGO navigate through so many complex challenges at all points in time, right? So you need to be coming in with that ability to think through problems in the most constructive manner. You need to have project management skills because you only have so much time and so many people to do all this work with. So how do you manage that? How do you distribute it in a way that you're running your organization really effectively? We look for people who are also oriented towards relationship building and management, right? Because our work is very collaborative and partnerships driven by nature. Okay, we work with every NGO like they are a partner. We call them partners as well. We are not delivering services. We are actually enabling them. We are supporting them. We are building their capabilities. We're teachers and facilitators. So we look for people with that ability to actually train, teach, support, and build that partnership with our NGOs. And of course, communication becomes key. Both written and verbal communication is important because you're oftentimes working with leaders, NGO leaders, and they already come with their own sort of preconceived mindset, notions, their experiences. So, for them to be able to listen to somebody, oftentimes someone who's younger than them, you need to come with that ability to communicate impactfully, convince the other person, make them see, what where you're coming from or what you're recommending to them, right? So we look at this kind of a mix in the kind of person we look at, and of course, very very driven, motivated to really be there for our partner NGOs, because that's the core of our work. It helps if individuals we hire as consultants come with some experience of either working in NGOs in the country, because that would ground them, and they would have real life experience, right, of having done that work which they are asking others to do. So I think it comes from that sense of grounding, and a combination of some kind of OD and management skills, right? So while you may not have, say for example, led sales teams or something like that, right? But if you have experience in raising money, raising funds, or you have experience in managing financials, right? You come from a technical background where you're either a chartered accountant, or you're an MBA, or you're a cost accountant, right? Or you are someone who has experience in just consulting as a space, because that often tends to be very broad and all encompassing and creates generalists where you're able to pick things up very quickly, and support organizations in kind of solving for them with little context. And so I think these are typically the kind of skills, domains, past experience we look at. And last but not the least, Mahala, we also interview for something called a culture fit, right? So when we are recruiting, we're also trying to find people who fit well into the culture of the organization, right? The how we operate, not just what they do on a day-to-day basis, but how they do it, how they engage with others, how they engage with the organization and with our partners, most importantly, because each one of our consultants is sort of a cultural ambassador, right, for the organization as well. And so, yeah, I would say these three things all encompassing is the kind of people we typically look for.
Great. I think as we grow and as the sector is also growing, this become really important when we look at culture. And when you say culture around, it also shows how much the org is connected to ensure that everyone around is enjoying the work that they do, and then they are safe. And there are all thing required to ensure that one is comfortable doing what they wanted to do. Sneha,
Yeah.
you have been into the ecosystem for a while now, and you are among the leaders that we can call and look at around us. Uh, from Cairn, then BCC, then Atma, and then at Atma also working with 1,000+ nonprofits over the years. There are youth that are getting or exploring their career in the nonprofit ecosystem.
Yeah.
You have to give them one advice, 1 minute. What would be that, or that summary that you have learned? Is there any advice that you wish to give them?
Yeah. I mean, I keep, telling a lot of people around me that they should explore social sector careers. I think for a variety of reasons, right? And look, every workplace has its pros and cons. It's not all hunky-dory in corporates either. So there are concerns here, there are concerns there. But if I keep those aside and I try to look at, what's positive and what's good about the work that we do in the sector, I would say, one is that there's a very strong human element to our work, right? I mean, I was in corporate for close to a decade before I decided to transition into a nonprofit environment, and those two are starkly different. And that happened because somewhere in that role, I was not seeing the so what of my work, right? So I'm giving like 8+ hours a day. So where is that going, and what change is it actually making in the world around me? Not everybody's work has very tangible changes, but I think this sector gives you the opportunity to really make a difference in a person's life, right? And you can do that, of course, in different ways. But you if you have a job and you're going to spend perhaps the most amount of hours in your life on something, the question is, what do you want that to be? I think for me personally, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make the world a better place. I wanted to do what I could with whatever skills I have, whatever passion and energy I have, to making a difference, in somebody's life. And so that, if you want that, if you think that's valuable, this is the place to be, right? So you should look at social sector careers and explore jobs here. Um, and it takes a certain mindset, Mala. So even as a young person, I don't think I knew all of this, but two, three things that I'll call out, which is good to keep in mind. Starting out, whether you're in the social sector or otherwise, I would say having a growth mindset is perhaps the most critical lesson, that I would like to pass on. Being someone who is open to challenges, who is someone that is able to look at a setback, a failure, and try to learn from it, to realize that you're a work in progress. And actually, each one of us is a work in progress. Nobody knows it all. We are continuously learning. Everyone is trying to give their best, right? So how can you empathize on that? Build that human connection with other people. Be that person, not forget that human element, right? Of just working together. I see more and more that standard jobs in the sector, and corporate jobs particularly, just look at individuals as resources, and I think that's just really, really sad, because to me, you have to have the emotional intelligence to recognize as a leader that you're working with people, right? And people come with so much more than just their skills, and just what they can deliver in that 8 hours for you, or in some cases 10 or 12 hours for you, shockingly. But I think those are the aspects, like connect with people on the human side of things. And last but not the least, spend some time in understanding yourself, right? And in taking care of yourself.
Great. Thank you, Sneha, for the time and these insights. Really helpful. I'm sure those who are watching from nonprofit ecosystem and those who are exploring opportunity to these nonprofits, Sneha is one who have been enabling nonprofits, uh, and have been in the ecosystem for a decade now. Uh, I'm sure this conversation will help you to scale your nonprofit impact, or maybe while you're looking for any opportunity with Atma. Well, we would be keep driving this kind of conversation on other social sector. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be back soon with another conversation with another leader. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mahala, and thanks everyone who listened in.